Hello, good evening and welcome once again to a Monday night edition of In the Know, brought to you by the Racing Post and Coral. My name is Ross Brierley and we're only a handful of weeks away from this year's Cheltenham Festival, and I'd say there aren't too many loose ends to tie up in terms of the market. We will be looking back at maybe one or two loose ends that we might well have tied up from Ascot and Haydock over the passing weekend, and then we'll be getting excited about 4 Cheltenham races as well. So if you're joining us live, thank you ever so much for taking time out on a Monday night to join us, and we will be live and interactive for the next hour. So do get involved on the chat and let us know what you think and feel on tonight's races. Before we get into that though, I do think it is worth mentioning that any conversation around National Hunt racing at the moment takes place in the shadow of the incredibly sad and tragic passing of Michael O'Sullivan at the weekend. Once again highlights the risks that jockeys take day in, day out for our entertainment in this sport. So again, whatever we say tonight, that is definitely in the back of our minds, and some excellent coverage of everything that you want to read on the Racing Post as well. So it's obviously an incredibly sad event, and our thoughts go out to his friends and family and anyone else affected by this tragedy. With that in mind, we're going to try and keep our mind on the action coming up and look forward to that. But let us know what you're thinking about the 4 races we're going to cover tonight. So we're going to be looking ahead to the Cheltenham Gold Cup. We're going to be looking at the Triumph Hurdle. We're going to be having a conversation about the Stayers Hurdle and also the Albert Bartlett as well. We're going to be having a look back at the weekend's action, like I said, from Ascot and from Haydock, and also a bit of Wincanton to throw in there as well. So who have we got tuning in tonight? Hello to our live chatters, to Dermot, to Sean, to Offworld, to Radley, and to everyone else. Okay, right. Mr. Paul Kealy is in the studio this evening. Keels, we are 3 weeks and a bit away, I think. I'm starting to. It's been so sort of grey and gloomy over the past week. I've started to lose track of what point we are in this seemingly endless winter, but I think it's 3 weeks.
Yeah, it is, and I've spent the last 2 working on a Cheltenham Festival guide, so I know exactly when it is because I've had my head buried in a book for the last couple of weeks.
Are there any horses that you haven't? I mean, I just said to you that like we have another runner in the Triumph that you weren't anticipating, and that you perked right up. You were like, I can't possibly miss one. I've covered every possible horse.
No, I didn't miss it. I mean, they actually declared after racing they wouldn't be going there, didn't they? So I mean, that's left out of the book, not even mentioned. There you go.
How are you? Are you going to take a bit of a break now and let the thoughts and the feelings percolate?
I've got 2 or 3 days off, funnily enough, starting tomorrow. So yeah, be back on Friday. But yeah, I'll do a couple of games of golf, game of snooker, just quiet, relax. Yeah, just let the subconscious sort it all out.
All right, okay. Tom Segal, welcome back to you, my good man. You have been on the other side of the globe with sport in mind, as ever. How was your US trip?
My US trip was excellent. What a nice city Washington is. I wasn't expecting it to be anything like what it was. It was perfect for me. There was no one there and it was very clean. It was absolutely perfect. And it wandered around.
I'm assuming you didn't go out at night.
Yeah. It was Super Bowl, so no one was out.
Oh yeah, of course.
Everyone was in watching the Super Bowl. Walked straight into the most busiest restaurant in the middle of Washington DC. No one else in it. It's perfect.
Well, and also, yeah. I mean, so you were over for a bit of basketball. Is that right?
Yeah, watched my son play basketball. Went to see him at his school in Pennsylvania. Drove over there from the airport. Drove back to Washington when he had to go back to school, and had a couple of days in Washington. It was lovely. Really liked it. I'm not normally a big city type of guy, but I thought Washington was great. I kept my eye on Trumpy for you as well, Ross. No problem.
Right, yeah, was he there? Was he?
Yeah, he was there. Yeah, saw his cavalcade a couple of times, but sorted him out and put him in his box and moved on.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, we need more like you in the in politics. In politics, Tom. No nonsense.
That's it.
Simon Clare, I haven't seen you. It's been a couple of weeks since I've seen you as well. What have you been up to?
Well, I don't know really. I was at the Dublin Racing Festival, which was great. Obviously saw Paul Kealy out there. He was in good form. And last weekend I was at Ascot actually, just gone. I actually had a leg in a horse, striking a pose, ran in the first race, came 6th of 16. He was one of the outsiders, so he massively outran his price. That was great. And then and that was obviously trained by Joe Tizard. And then Joe had a really good day with that double with the Changing Man and First Confession. So it was a lot of fun. Hanging out with, he's got the owners, John Waterworth and Susan Waterworth, and the Witchwood Partnership are really good fun. And so they definitely know how to enjoy a winner. And I think it was their biggest day to date. And they've got lots of horses, had lots of horses for a long time. So, yeah, that was good fun.
I mean, has Joe Tizard ever, I mean, to be fair, has even Colin Tizard, has any Tizard been in as good a form as Joe is right now?
It's great form. I mean, we've been sponsoring the yard for a long time. Obviously really good periods. Won the Gold Cup with Native River, Coral Welsh Nationals and stuff. But they've also had periods where they've gone very flat before Cheltenham and had, literally sort of gone on big losing runs going to Cheltenham. It's a terrible time of year to be out of form if you've got hopes at least of Cheltenham contenders. But it's been one of those years for Joe. It's been tough for him. I mean, when he took over 2 years ago, it's a bit like when Alex Ferguson stepped down, and left a sort of, not the strongest squad for the subsequent managers. He'd been lucky enough to be assistant trainer through all those good times of Thistlecrack and Q-Card and Native River. All the Potts horses came at the same time. So it really was a perfect time. And then when he came in, he didn't really have that bench strength really. And but he's done really well the last couple of years. But this year, I think it's his third year as the full named license holder, and it's gone really well. And he's had obviously a Grade 2 winner at the weekend. And hopefully, he's going to go to Cheltenham with a few horses with live chances, and you just never know. It's very hard to win races at Cheltenham, as you know, particularly when the Irish and Willie Mullins mop up most of them. But he's definitely having a season which is good for him and the stable, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, more to come then on that, and we'll also, like I said, look back and look forwards and get some of your thoughts, feelings, questions, and selections out as well. But first, this. Okay, right, let's have a little look back at the weekend, shall we? My overall feeling, personally, was we had some cracking performances with some very eye-catching runners, but quite a lot of the notes I made next to them were more Aintree than Cheltenham, but the chaps on the show tonight might well put me wrong. So where do you want to start, Mr. Paul Kealy? We've got a bit of Ascot, got a bit of Haydock, got a bit of Wincanton. Anything stand out for you?
Stand out. Let's say, well, it stood out that it was a silly idea to run a long presse after the Cotswold Chase.
Fair.
On good ground over 2.5 miles, and it didn't work, did it?
I mean, when I was looking at the Gold Cup fields sort of a week or two ago, I was thinking, well, the second and third in last year's Gold Cup won't be running, which means Long Press is the second best horse out of last year's race turning up. He's in cracking form. He's lightly raced this season as well. He loves Cheltenham. All systems go for the Gold Cup. That seemed the obvious next step for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it just seemed daft, didn't it? They couldn't really understand it. So yeah, I mean, other than what stood out for me was what a bad weekend I had, really. I mean, I'd actually put up famous Bridge in the Weekender for the Grand National Trial, and I was absolutely convinced that I backed it. And I was searching around for a bet to find it, and I couldn't, which was a bit of a worry. And I got everything else wrong. I'm not sure there's a million things. I mean, the Changing Man was good, wasn't he? But by the same token, talk about a race falling apart. Larry's Bar was a non-runner. Peaky Boy just didn't turn up at all. And he beat a 127 rated rival afterwards. Reynolds Stand isn't there never used to be a great guide when there were good horses running in it. But I just wonder what we're going to get out of any of it at all. Pickdory was ace.
Well, like I say, so I got a few notes, but I did start to think, there was a couple, but yeah, Pickdory was needed, wasn't it? I mean, Nichols is having pretty much the worst season for at least a decade, I think. And it was his only winner last week. So, I mean, it was 100% needed, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he just doesn't have the ammunition at the moment, does he? But he's got a fight on his hands to get some, hasn't he?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, Altibelli was impressive. I thought Joyo Machin probably entered the Coral Cup conversations after that run. Gibbs Island, obviously, I'm involved in race share as well. That was wonderful to see a horse win in that fashion. He might be a Triumph/Aintree contender. Battleborn Lad, Golden Ace might be an outsider for the Champion Hurdle. I mean, from the heart, Tom, seeing My Drogo win his first race since 2021 was lovely to see.
Yeah, that was nice to see. I thought Golden Ace was perhaps quite interesting, not for the Champion Hurdle though. If you watched that race, she was going to be last turning for home, and all she does is Statham for me. I think she just wasn't right when she was running at the start of the season. She's won over 2 miles 4.5. She's run over further. She's beat Lucky Place over 2 miles 3. I think she's got no chance whatsoever in the Champion Hurdle. But if the two big ones pull out of the Mares Hurdle, I think she's nearly favourite, isn't she, to win the Mares Hurdle without Brighter Days Ahead and Lossymouth. And I think that's where they should go. I think they'd be bonkers to go for the Champion Hurdle because she's 100 to 1 shot to win that. She's got to run 3:40 and she can't do it. And whereas she'd have, as I say, she'd be almost favourite for the Mares.
What do you mean? Because she's one of those horses that, she's in a fashion that like Southampton, in the sense of not good enough for the Premier League, too good for the Championship. But she's not. Struggles over 2.5. It's almost like a really strongly run 2 miles. She's not quite a 2 miler, but also not quite 2.5.
I don't think she struggles over 2.5 miles. I think that's a misnomer. I think she was just wrong.
Yeah.
Jeremy Scott didn't have a winner for years. She beat Lucky Place over 2-3 at Taunton. She beat Betty by miles, giving her away 2.5 miles at Cheltenham last year. She's bred to stay. One of her relations is a Ascot Gold Cup winner. I'm not having that she doesn't stay 2.5 miles. I think it's just that she wasn't right. And I think now that after Saturday's performance, where she was going to be last, turning for home, and then all she did was stay. She won through stamina. She didn't win through speed at all. I can't see her beating. If the ground's anything like good, I can't see her beating Burdett Road in the Champion Hurdle, but I can see her going very close in a mares race because it would take out the top two. They're not very good.
Yeah. Other horses, I thought Gwenny May Boy would be fantastic at Aintree, given that win last year. I think the grade 1 at Aintree over 3 miles would be worth a crack. But the other one I mentioned to you, Tom, of course, is Battleborn Lad, who stepped up in trip, having beat Wendigo when Wendigo was a very short price. Obviously, Wendigo made fairly heavy weather the other day at Wetherby, but that was over an inadequate trip as well. So those form lines starting to work out nicely.
Yeah, and Simon's horse, First Confession, ran in the Challow, didn't it? So while everyone's trying to knock that form, I don't think it's anywhere near it. It's just come the trendy thing, isn't it, to say the Challow's rubbish and no one can win. And everyone seems to forget that the Jukebox Man ran in the Challow last year and should have won the Albert Bartlett. It's a trendy thing to say, isn't it, that the Challow's a rubbish race every season. I don't think it was this season by any stretch of the imagination. I think the winner's very good. I think the second's very good, as was franked a couple of times this week. Well,
funnily enough, the Challow has a quite a good record in the Supreme and the Albert Bartlett. It's the Turners that it doesn't have a good record in, weirdly, which makes no sense, does it?
No.
Given it's a 2.5 mile race. Simon, what about you? Any big market movers? Was there anything that entered your notebook for the coming weeks and months?
Yeah, I thought Golden Ace was great. She was well backed. She was backed as if she was expected to run really well, and she's a 12 to 1 shot for the Mares Hurdle. We're going non-runner no bet from tomorrow at Coral, and as Tom said, I think Brighter Days Ahead's 4 to 6 favourite, 5 to 2 Lossymouth. Lossymouth almost certainly was going to go for the champion. That's what everything we're hearing. We don't know about Brighter Days Ahead. They're saying Mares Hurdle, but you never can tell with Michael O'Leary. And Golden Ace looks. She's on form, which she wasn't early in the season. She's a festival winner. She's tough. She's game. I mean, I think there are worse each way bets than that Mares Hurdle. Non-run no bet for sure. But the changing man's really interesting. I mean, I know the race did fall apart, but what I would say is Joe said to Brendan, this is a really experienced chaser who'd run 9 times over fences and yet to win. But he comes second in some big knocking handicaps, the Great Yorkshire Chase, the Rehearsal Chase, the Silver Cup. And that they start that race and it's downhill. I think it's two stiff fences and a ditch. And he said, just go, you've got the experience, use it, go, get into the lead and go quick. I'm not saying that sort of made that mistake happen, but the one thing he's got big race experience. He's still a novice. He's won 130 grand over fences. He's only won one race. That was his first race. And he's probably not going to go up in the weights. He's 138 rated. He'll go to the Ultima. That's where Oscar Elite went after winning the Reynoldstown. Poor old Oscar Elite missed the start, trailed round last under Harry Cobden, finished 5th. It looked a disappointing run because they really fancied him that day. And of course, Correct's Rambler, fast or slow, were first and second in that race. One won a national, the other one's won Grade Ones ever since. So I think the Change Man's very interesting. If they go to Cheltenham, he could run in the. I think the Ultima is the likely place to run at, but he could go for the National Hunt Chase, which is now called a handicap with professionals riding. I think it's probably stayed 3 miles 6. It's a thorough stayer, but it's one run at Cheltenham. If you go back and watch that Potence, he's been 5 lengths by Go. Was it Go Johnny Go or something? Anyway, I can't remember the name of the horse. But there was actually, he won by 3.5 lengths. There were 7 horses covered by 1.5 lengths, and the Change Man was staying on in that Potence. So I think he's got a big chance. First Confession may run on the Albert Bartlett, but I think he's a chase for the future. As Joe said, he said you could easily see him turning up in something like the Reynoldstown next year over fences, and he's going to be a nice horse for the future. But no, for me, I thought the Changing Man, it was great to see him win, and I think he could go there with a proper sporting chance in one of the handicaps.
Yeah, well, and again, I mean, the handicaps genuinely, it's going to be easier to place in a champion hurdle, isn't it, or even a Gold Cup at this rate than winning some of the handicaps, given what.
Well, look, they've got the new rules for novices now, which just make it a little bit tougher. The last few years, particularly over fences, the novices have seemed to. We saw it with Chianti Classico last year. That has been the angle. So just that extra run that they need to run in both hurdles and chases might mean there's not quite so many of them, which gives more of a chance, the more exposed. Almost proper handicappers to have their day in the sun. But the Changing Man, of course, has had 2 seasons over novice chasers, and he's had 10 runners under his belt, so that it won't be an issue for him.
Okay, right. That's the weekend wrapped up. Then let's get the crystal ball out, shall we, and have a look at 4 races. Like I said, we're going to be looking at the Gold Cup. We're going to be looking at the Triumph, the Stayers, and the Albert Bartlett. So very different. Certainly different betting heats, that's for sure. Galloping de Champs 1-2 for this year's Gold Cup. Of course, Factor File 5-1, Banbridge 6-1, Corbett's Cross 12-1, Long Press 14s, Monty Star 14s, Grange Clare West 16-1, Grey Dawning 16-1, and bigger prices the rest. Again, the caveats that we've been saying for the past few weeks apply. Factor File, Banbridge, even Long Press after the weekend, Grey Dawning. These horses may not turn up, almost certainly won't turn up in the shape of Grey Dawning, which means that Galloping de Champs is currently a 1-2 shot with those horses in, and he's going for 3 wins on the bounce in this race. Of course, a record that eluded Alboom Photo, which I was looking at the other day. Similar profile, similar age, probably a better horse than Alboom Photo. And of course, he came up against A Plus Tard and Manila Indo, Paul Kealy. The problem is, you're looking at this field, and if Factor File and Banbridge don't go, where the hell are the Manila Indos and A Plus Tard?
This is it. You've said it, isn't he? He's a better horse than Alboom Photo, and he's going to be running in a much, much, much worse race. He's not going to get beat, is he? I don't particularly want to see him get beat anyway, because I think he's an absolute superstar, and he's the best we've seen since Quarto and Denman, I think. And he deserves to win. So yeah, I don't see what I literally have no idea what's going to run. It could be just one of the smallest fields ever, couldn't it? If it's soft ground, I don't see how Banbridge is going to run. Yeah. I mean, at the last 2 festivals, he missed the Turners because of soft ground, and he ran in the Ryanair last year when I thought one got beat 75 lengths. Last of 9 finishes, I think he was. He is one of the most ground-dependent horses around. But again, the Friday of Cheltenham, we normally think, or used to think, you'll get borderline good ground. It didn't happen last year, didn't happen the year before, but we're going to have one day when it does. Yeah. Kind of hoping it does, so we at least get him in there. I have no idea where the Factor File is going to run. I don't see why he should. I wouldn't fancy him to beat Monty Star or Grange Clare West over 3 mile 2, or Corbett's Cross. To be honest, he just doesn't stay in my book, and it's as simple as that. A bit of your wayward lad type. Yeah. Well, just about gets 3 mile, but not really.
I mean, again, he might win a King George.
Yeah, might win a King George.
And it's not a bad season if you win the John Dirk and the King George and the Ryanair or something. It's still 3 Grade 1s.
Yeah, but basically, stamina-wise, he's been found out, and he's not going to get another 2 furlongs up the hill at Cheltenham, is he? So then you've got Corbett's Cross, who jumps very slowly. He does stay forever.
Big ask to win your first Grade 1 in a Gold Cup against Galloping de Champs.
Absolutely, and the other thing is Galloping de Champs is going to be able to make his own pace as well. You know what I mean? So he can just plod along in front and just have too much for him. So he's going to win. I mean, I would back Monty Star to be second, just because it's all been about been about the Gold Cup for him. Just a couple of runs. Not so good behind Embassy Gardens first time. Just let him get away with it, really. And then a better run next time. I mean, that but what you're looking at is he's run to a RPO of 162, finished 5th, beaten 7.5 lengths, and that's a career best. Gallopin Dechamp's career best is 20 odd pound higher, so he's not going to be threatening him. But I would not be at all surprised if he charges up the hill for second.
Okay, Monty Star currently a 14-1 shot. Again, ground is a big issue in terms of who's going to turn up, Tom. I think if it came up soft, I mean, we talked about Grange Clare West briefly before his run last time out behind Gallopin Deschamps. I think he's really interesting. I mean, he's a Grade 1 winner as a novice, battered Corbett's Cross on that occasion. Things, obviously the wheels have come off a little bit since then, but I don't know, I could see him jumping round for second or third.
He's going to stay the trip, Ross. I don't think he will. I think he's a Leopardstown horse. I think all his form's there over the 3. I'm not sure he's going to stay the trip. I think Banbridge has a chance actually on good ground of winning.
Yeah.
Because you watch that King George again from Turning for Home. Very, very few horses make up the ground he did on a top class horse. Now, everyone says he was stopping in front. He might have been in Les Françaises, but he still beat the rest by 10 lengths. He was upside Corbett's Cross jumping 3 out, and he's beaten him, 30 lengths or whatever it was. So on good ground, I think he'll stay the trip, no problem, on what he showed at Kempton. And I think he would be a danger because Gallopin Deschamps is better on softer ground. But as Kealy says, it is... the norm now is for it to be soft. It's never going to be like it was in the old days. Can't see Factor File staying. Corbett's Cross just is a massive, you know what I'm going to say, he's a massive lover. If he wins the Gold Cup, I mean, he's a worse jumper than Synchronised, who is the worst jumper ever to win the Gold Cup. But, if Gallopin Deschamps fell over and that was all that was left, then he might stay on and win it. So that's what you're hoping on. Long Press, I think you just throw out that last run. I don't know why they ran him. I think he could go well. Monty Star is the second best horse in the Gold Cup, which he could beat. Then we're really struggling for staying chasers, aren't we? He's not won a race, has he? He's won one novice chase, has he?
Yeah.
I think that's it. And we're talking about him coming second in the Gold Cup. So
just start naming some of the others, though. That's the problem.
Well, I mean, the weird thing is,
I completely agree with you.
But completely agree with you. Before this weekend, Long Press is a horse who's come to Cheltenham 4 times, won 3, finished 4th in a Gold Cup on his only other start. A Gold Cup where at the second fence he was still in front, and he did way too much. This year they've switched tactics, switched him off a bit. He was the way, I know he made, like I said, he didn't beat Stage Star by very far, but he ate up the ground, and that's what you want to see at the back end of a Gold Cup. So everything in theory was setting it up. So
I couldn't agree more. He's my favourite horse in training, and the thing about him is that people don't really know that he got badly injured in the Gold Cup last year. I think he just stopped because he was injured. He got struck into 2 out. Otherwise, I think he would have stayed. I mean, every other run he's hit the line really hard. So I think he would have been 3rd last year.
And even if he wasn't, Jerry Colombe and Corach Rambo aren't here. And this is a weaker race. So
yes, absolutely. But people are basing his thinking about him as a non-stayer. I think he'd stay. I think he'll stay the Grand National trip.
I thought he just did. To my eyes, he just did. If he got struck into.
He nearly got killed. He nearly got killed. I mean, he had a big cut, 12-inch cut on the back of his leg, and he was very lucky to not tear his tendons. So. I think I agree with you, and I think if you throw out that last run and it's soft ground, he could definitely run well.
Yeah. Gallopin Deschamps, though, Simon Clare bidding to enter the history books, and if it wasn't for the Bob Ollinger incident, as it were, he would be unbeaten at every racecourse apart from Punchestown, and also potentially a Triple Gold Cup winner. So again, he's on the verge of becoming a great.
Yeah, it wasn't Bob Ollinger's fault. Even the Bob Ollinger. You're right. I'm just trying to think of a way. If I'm honest, I'd completely. The sponsors changed so often, I'd forgotten who sponsored it that year. So it's just the Turners. I'm pretty sure. The Mars Chase, the Turners. One of those.
Yeah. The Neptune.
But you're right. I mean, do you know what? And I think everyone's talked about it. It's kind of crept up on us that he's potentially a great. It's funny. I think a lot of people said he hasn't been given the credit he probably deserved, and I think that's true. And now, but hopefully that'll flip. And I think we saw that obviously at Leopardstown when he won his 3rd Irish Gold Cup. The reception there was unbelievable. And I think it'll be the same if he wins the 3rd Gold Cup. And it's also, Best Mate in many ways didn't necessarily get the credit really he deserved, but he was the first horse since the 60s to win 3 Gold Cups. And now, but I was just reading, I think only horse like Beef or Sabin, Jadabi and Florida Pearl have won 3 Irish Gold Cups. So actually, in terms of winning 3 Irish Gold Cups and 3 Cheltenham Gold Cups, he could stand out on his own.
Well, and Beef or Salmon didn't win him in a row either. He took a break for a year or two, if I remember rightly. So it's remarkable. Yeah, do you know?
It is.
The funny thing is, Simon, I genuinely, my theory is that we would already be considering him a great if he raced in 3 or 4 other type. If he raced in different silks, and he had a snappier name. I think we'd already be talking about. I think there's a slight bias against him.
Yeah, Galloping the Shops isn't the fleshy name. Go on, Tom, you're going to say something.
Well, no, definitely. It's the name thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
If it was called Denman or Best Mate.
Yeah.
Yeah, Galloping des Champs. You're right. It's a mouthful, isn't it? Yeah, but look, he's probably going to win, isn't he? I mean, he's 2's on now. It's interesting when the ground's going to be really interesting. We've got a few weeks to go. I did have a little look at the long range weather forecast. There's no point, is there? Let's face it. Seen quite a lot of rain around this couple of weeks. But like Paul said, used to assume it's going to be good ground. I mean, Banbridge, Labritsky George was amazing. If it's good ground, he looks the one horse you could think this will be interesting. If it comes up soft, it's hard to see him figuring. One thing I would say is, I'm not sure Grey Dawning isn't going to run in the Gold Cup. Dan Skelton set out his plan. Kelso then ain't true. We're missing the Cheltenham. He's a cute cookie, Dan. He's starting to look. He's wondering how many runners will run.
Well,
good prize
there.
I think he might run him. And I'm not saying, look, he won the. Was it the Ryanair? No, was it the Turners last year? Was it Turners
See, I'm glad it's not just me. It's fine. It's just
but he's a very lightly raced second season novice who's I know it was a grueling race and a big race in the Betfair Chase, should have won. And I think in a weakish field, he would be a horse I'd be interested in each way. And as I said, with non-run bet, he's 16-1. It may be shorter actually once the market opens non-run bet tomorrow, but he'd be one. If he runs, I think he'd be shorter on the day potentially because I can see the field falling apart. And the only other one I thought was vaguely interesting because I desperately searched for an outsider was Jungle Boogie, who's ludicrously lightly raced for an 11-year-old, was 6th last year. He's only run in 5 chases and 7 races in his life as an 11-year-old, but he ran 6th last year and actually was quite impressive at Ascot when Iroko came down, didn't he, before Christmas? And at a massive price, I thought he might be a bit of fun. But look, I think Galloping the Shops just going to win. We've got him in the no special. He's got to win by 8 lengths, and you can back him at 4-1, which was from 3-1, and that's for £20 max for the duration of the show and half an hour afterwards. So you think Galloping the Shops is going to hose up by over 8 lengths? He's 4-1, but I think he'll probably win. But I think Grey Dawning, because I quite like the horse, as you well know. I'd probably throw a few quid each way at him and Nora no bet.
Okay, Reece Sutton's going to be all over that. He says Galloping the Shops wins the Gold Cup going backwards and will smile at the camera as he goes past it. So he's all over that. However, someone will not be happy. Rob Dixon. I just hope they don't talk about Jungle Boogie, who I like in the Ryanair. So you've ruined that one. But mentioning Grey Dawning just quickly as well. I mean, Imperial Commander, for example, went down fighting at Haydock, completely bombed out at Kempton. Everyone was talking about Courter and Denman that year, and he came and absolutely dotted up.
Yeah, I'm a massive fan of Grey Dawning as well. I was, I backed him for the King George, and he lost that at the first fence, didn't he?
Yeah.
I do think if he hadn't have gone through the last at Haydock, he'd have won because he looked to me like he was going clear at the time, and that sort of mistake at the end of nearly 3.25 miles in the mud is going to take it out of you. So I'm not going to. I'm not going to question his stamina just because he didn't get back up.
No,
you know what I mean. He wasn't stopping,
and he was against Royal Pagaille, who
and he was against a horse who is, or has been until after then, very, very, very good at Haydock.
Well, I mean, he must have gone through.
That's my issue with him, Ross. It's just none of his form's worked out at all, has it, Grey Dawning's? Is he any good?
Yeah, that is true.
My question.
That is, you can argue that.
You're right. I mean,
you can argue that, but it did look like his form. It did look like he was in pretty good form in that Haydock race. And I know Royal Pagaille's jumping's gone, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, but there's a possibility that race broke Royal Pagaille as well, didn't it? Having to go past Grey Dawning again. But yeah, I mean, the only bright spot from Grey Dawning's form is Jello, isn't it? That's the only horse who's upheld that form at all. Disappointingly, my horse I was looking forward to most this season was Ilate Tom, and I was thinking he's going to be, if he comes out and really mixes it up. I was thinking, it'd be John Durkins and Ryan Ayres and all that kind of thing for in this season. But yeah, it is a bit disappointing that form hasn't worked out, because you want to see those novices take a step forward, of course. Okay, Galloping, I think we all think he'll win again. Following him home, potentially Paul Kealy?
Well, I'll be a Monty Star man, but I might jump to Grey Dawning if he runs. But I just assumed that he wasn't going to. So.
Okay. Long Press, he was my first impulse even after this weekend. Then Grange Clare West possibly as well, just because we don't know that much about him. Tom Segal?
Well, I think the only horse that's got comparable ability is Banbridge, and so I hope the ground's good, because then I think we've got a race.
Fair enough. And Simon?
Yeah, Grey Dawning each way, no bet, and as they nearer the time, if the ground did come up good, like Tom said, I think Banbridge, it'd be, at least then you feel there's a serious contender for Galloping de Champs, which would be good for him, because if he was to beat Banbridge fair and square on better grounds, win a third Gold Cup, I think that would be. He'll be declared a great whatever, but it'd be quite nice if he was beating a decent rival.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that's this year's Gold Cup then. Moving on, and then moving back in time, because we're sticking with Friday, but going back to the first race, we've got this year's Triumph Hurdle, where Lalamba is 6-4 favourite. East India Dock is 5-2. Hello Neighbour 6-1. Palladium 12-1. Lady Vega Allen is 14s. Galileo Dame is 16s. Blue Lemons and Charles are 20-1, and then it's bigger prices the rest. You've got the likes of Live Conti or Live Conti, who dotted up at Wetherby on the bridle. Mondo Man, who might running the Adonis this weekend. Gibbs Island, who did win the Victor Ladorum at the weekend, and then loads of other horses who are rated 90 or 100 on the flat, and we haven't even seen them run yet, so God knows whether they'll turn up. But it is La Lamba at 6-4 at the top of the betting here, Tom Segal. Unfortunately, you're going to write an anti-post preview for the paper tomorrow.
Well, it won't be Lamba.
Yeah, and it basically means that you are contractually obliged to not disagree when I say East India Dock is going to win this by half the track, and you can't say anything about it because you can't spoil what you're going to say in the paper. And I'm sure you would have agreed with me that this horse is the best juvenile hurdler we've seen in a generation, and that we still haven't got to the bottom of him. And he's won by 28 lengths combined, twice in graded races at Cheltenham in fantastic speed figures for a man who has trained only 4 less National Hunt winners than Nicky Henderson this season. And he's going to dot up, and you can't disagree.
No. I can, but I'm not going to.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Paul Kealy.
Hey, I'm not going to disagree with you. I absolutely agree with you. I mean, the funny thing is, it's one of those. I mean, nobody is going to be remotely surprised whatsoever if Lulamba's as good as everybody says he is. Like, because it's that stable. Nicky Henderson's won it 7 times, but he hasn't done it yet. Now, I know he beat a Group 1 horse from the flat fairly comfortably, giving him weight at Ascot last time, but Mondo Man pulled the jockey's arms out for at least a mile. Yeah. Cannot possibly have run to his best. The third had to get a proper ride just to win at odds of 2-7 at Ludlow next time. You know what I mean? The form itself isn't strong. It was just a really, really promising performance. But because of all the talk about him, he's become quite a short price favourite. And I was just having a look at what other favourites had produced in the past. And if it was a mare, I did add £7 on because I think you'd need to. Like, you know what I mean? But the average RPR of a favourite is 143. Yeah. In the last
which is what East
years.
India Dock did last time.
Which is exactly what East India Dock did, and Lulamba's at 132. Right now, he might blow that out of the water if he runs at Kempton on Saturday. But
he's going to have to though.
Well, he probably won't have to win that race, because when you look what's in it, there's nothing there.
Can you tell again? I mean, obviously, I don't compile RPRs, but and I know obviously there's weights and measures that come into it, and I know he's receiving £6 from Vianney. So he beat, receiving £6. He beats a horse weight at 118 6 lengths.
No, he was giving weight. He was giving weight to Vianney.
He was giving
£4 to Vianney.
So you're giving £4 to a horse rated 118. You beat him 6.5 lengths. East India Dock beats a horse rated low 120s, receiving a little bit of weight, 18 lengths. And gets the same. Again, I haven't dug into it in the maths, but it does.
Yeah, I don't do the. I mean,
it just seemed a little high.
Is it a little bit high? Is that what you're saying?
That's what I thought. But
yeah, I mean, you know, I mean, the handicapper always used to say to me, you know, be a 15-20% margin for error on those sort of races.
Yeah, because it's like,
you know what I
2
mean?
years, it's like
Because
nurseries, isn't it?
it's
Again,
like, you know what I mean? It's not an exact science. No matter people who think it is, it just isn't. So it is subjective. It is an opinion, and you know, I think because of the talk about him, you're going to err towards the side of caution on that, and it is good. It is good, and it might turn out to be very, very good. And the talk about him, I mean, Nicky Henderson had to poo-poo the notion that he'd kick John Bon away out of the way on the gallop straight after the race, hadn't he? Like, you know what I mean? So there is a lot of talking about him, but he runs in the same colours as Segal, and I think people are just thinking he's Segal, and he hasn't proved that yet.
The thing is, what my impression of him actually at Ascot was that he jumped the hurdles like he will love a fence, so he might be.
Yes, he's next year's Arkle favourite, isn't he? You know what I mean? But whether he's good enough to, you know, to beat what looks a very, you know, what I think is very good. He's a half brother to Burdett Road.
Yeah.
But he jumps, he settles, and he stays really well. And I don't think Burdett Road does any of those three, and he's already rated 150.
Well, Burdett Road was by Mahara, and he's by Golden Horn.
Yeah,
so
I think he's going to be a considerably better horse over hurdles than Burdett Road. I think he's definitely got the potential to be that. I like the way, even when he gets in short, he doesn't lose any momentum at his hurdles, does he? Like, you know, even if he has a little fiddle at one, he's over and gone. Like, you know what I mean? And you know, perhaps the other course would suit better. Like, you know, given there's only, you know, a couple of hurdles in the last 7 furlongs. But I mean, he's gonna, you know, he does hit the line hard. He doesn't do, you know, he hasn't done anything wrong yet.
He hasn't. I mean, he hasn't even shown in the whip yet.
No. You know, but it's unusual in any race, in any Grade 1 race, to have a horse that is £11 clear on Racing Post figures is not favourite.
Yeah, I mean that's the main thing. It was I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, and there are obviously a lot of areas, but I mean the speed figures that I use as well. He's done the best. He would have won every Triumph since. He's been the best figure since our Connor in terms of juvenile horses, and he's still done it. To my eyes, he's still done it
within himself.
Yeah. I don't know. I think he's absolutely fascinating, and I also just absolutely love James Owen. I mean, it's getting. I don't know if I can hire James Owen to be a personal trainer or something, Tom, but I think I could get another 10 years of my life if I get on the gallops with James Owen at the moment. He's remarkable, but yeah, obviously. But look, you're going to do an anti-post preview. You've got a 6-4 shot and a 5-2 shot in a Triumph Hurdle where half the field could improve a stone in the blink of an eye. So you're not going to go for those two. So what are the ones that you've currently got on the shortlist that you're thinking, okay, they could get involved?
Well, to be honest, I haven't really gone into it too much detail. What I don't like about Lou Lambert is that he might run on Saturday, believe it or not. Because all the time he was never going to run again. He was fine. He didn't need any practice. He was settled. He did this, do that. All of a sudden, he needs more practice. We're going to Kempton on Saturday, maybe. Don't like that.
Yeah,
that puts me off. It puts me off him. East India Dock. I agree with all you said. It's just that he is East India Dock, and he wasn't brilliant on the flat, and he wasn't this, and he wasn't that. If there is a champion hurdle horse, which Sergino was last year, then I think something had beat him. As we're standing here now, there's no chance of any of these horses being, apart from Lou Lambert, is there, of any of them being that good? Because I don't see East India Dock winning a champion hurdle or being that sort of horse.
Well, I think that's the thing is, you know, the past few years it's been the DRF juvenile, hasn't it? That's
better than Catch It on the flat.
Yeah, I mean,
he was, and he was better than Istabrac on the flat too. But the point is that these days these French horses are different beasts, aren't they? It's like turning up at the rugby match and you're the little scrum half, and these massive bruisers come out. And you think, I've got no chance. In the old days, when none of these horses were around, your Catch-Its could win. I'm not sure the flat horses going over jumps these days are anything like as good as they were. But that's not to take away from East India Dock, who could be. And as you say, the speed figure.
I think this thing. So, I mean, for example, like Palladium's obviously an incredible flat horse. If he goes and wins the Adonis on Saturday, which he might well do, Mondo Man or one of those two, you think, oh, okay, we've got a Group 1 horse who's just won over hurdles. But then you get the flat track bully thing. What if East India Dock had won anywhere else the way he'd won it? Even if he'd won it once, but then he came back and he did it again. I mean, I
totally get it what you're saying. I just my reading of National Hunt breeding and the way I look at it now is that if there is a big strong French, they'll outstay these flat horses.
But I mean, a genuine question. I mean, because I'm not trying to just be, but he's already done it twice. So is there not? Do you know what I mean?
That doesn't matter, because we were saying we had the same, not quite, but we had the same sort of thing about Burdett Road last year. So Gino came along and beat him 15 lengths on the bridle.
Yes, but but Burdett Road can't
I
jump,
know
can't
what you're going to
settle,
say.
and doesn't stay that strongly.
Burdett Road can jump. He definitely can jump.
Yes, but he's a big jumper. He's a big jumper.
And he's by Mahara.
I get you entirely. But Sir Gino would thrash East India Dock, wouldn't he?
Of course.
But he'd thrash most horses in training, to be fair, though.
So my point is, if you get a really good one, which you can get from these French ones, you're.
But we knew the difference was coming into the spring festivals. We knew Sagino was a good one.
Yeah, exactly.
But we don't know.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
No,
I'm not disagreeing with you at all.
But what I'm asking you is, there
isn't one.
There isn't one.
That's why East India Dock is probably a very good price at 5-2, isn't he? Because there isn't one. Because there isn't one from the DRF.
Yeah.
Lulamber is the only one floating around from Britain. It could be that this is a Goshen year, couldn't it?
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It could, and he's he's the same sort of horse as Goshen to me, East India Dock.
Yeah, he's more straightforward, but he's not as, you're right. He's not got that. He's not got an air of generational class to him by any stretch. But it might well be, that he's.
That's the point. Yeah. That's where I think you two are both correct. Is that he should clearly be favourite at this stage over Lulamber, because the form is there. We've all seen it.
Can I ask you a question, Tom? So. Yeah. The Lulamber versus Mondo. The strange thing for me for Lulamber and Mondo Man is if I didn't know the name of the horse, the trainer, what race they were going for, anything, and I watched that race, I would say, okay, you've got the second is his first time over hurdles. He's up against, Lulamber, who's clearly a bit of a pro at it. He was very, very keen, Mondo Man. He was actually coming back at the line. I think if those two met again, I'd be back in the second. So, am I going mad in that thought?
I don't think Mondo Man will ever stay properly because he's too free. But he was giving him £10. It was his first run as well, remember. His first run from coming over. There's no chance that was the best Lulamber we were ever going to see. No. I'm pretty sure he'll improve a lot for that run as well. He was giving him weight, having won before. £10 is quite a lot, I thought. So, listen, Lulamber could be a superstar. I have no problem with that. But as you guys have rightly pointed out, and I'm sure Simon will agree, is that he hasn't done it yet. And so the prices seem the wrong way round to me, you, everyone probably who's looking at the race. But they are that way they are for a reason. And that is because people think that Lulamber could be the generational talent, and probably East Indian Dock, because what we know from him from the flat can never quite get there.
There is also, Simon, something to bear in mind from a bookmaking perspective, of course, is that he'd already been cut before he'd run here. He then wins and he got cut again. Everyone's going to pile into him. He could improve, but also, if you're pricing up this race, people are going to back him. So there's also a bit of defending yourself, right?
Definitely. I think, the thing about Nicky Anderson has been, keeps being incredibly transparent and open about his horses, sometimes too much in some ways. But he hasn't hidden his how the high esteem he holds his horse, and he's got a great record in the Triumph Hurdle. Bar horse Sergino missing the Arkle, he looked like have a really strong hand across Cheltenham this year. We know last year it all went wrong when it came to the meeting. Let's hope that doesn't happen again. But so there's a lot of hype. There's a lot of hype built into that price at 6-4. It is our In the Know special. We're actually going 6-4 Nicky Henderson to train the winner of the Triumph Hurdle. That's a £50 max bet for the duration of the show, and so you get basically Palladium chucked in as well as Lulamber, because Lulamber is 6-4 on our market. So you get 6-4 Nicky Henderson train the winner, and Palladium comes into the reckoning. And he's a 12-1 chance. He's not disinteresting actually. Obviously cost £1.4 million, whatever it was, and did a very impressive, debut at Huntington. But look, I'm hearing you discussing it. East India Dock. I can hear the fans, the fan club for East India Dock. James Dunn's a brilliant guy, by the way. He's a top point-to-point trainer, brilliant Arabian horse trainer, great flat trainer, and he can train jumpers as well. Certainly hurdlers. I mean, what can't he do? And he's a good guy as well. So I do wish him well. The one thing I'd say is it's interesting. That Dublin Racing Festival Juvenile Hurdle has an extraordinary record. 9 winners in 13 years. only 3 of which won the race. How do we know Hello Neighbour isn't himself a good horse? He's only raced 4 times, twice on the flat, twice on hurdles. He hasn't been beaten yet. He pulled really hard during the race. They didn't go particularly quick. He still managed to win. A stiffer, faster pace at Cheltenham. Could well suit him. He was a high, he obviously ran a decent, got a 97 rated flat horse off the base of 2 wins. I think, he's interesting. And I thought Galileo Dane's interesting. She ran in the Irish Oaks. Joseph O'Brien's a brilliant trainer. She was shuffled back at a vital stage. She stayed on well. She might have won the race with a better run. And the fact that you got back Hello Neighbour at 6-1 and Galileo Dame, I think, is 14-1. They're 16-1. Lady Vega Allen's going to be Willie Mullins' leading contender, probably with Paul Townend on board. She's 14-1. 2 of them, of course, Galileo Dame and Lady Vega Allen get the weight allowance. So you could basically back the 3 of them and be backing by far the best trial at 3-1, one of those horses to win the race. So I must admit, from my point of view, East India Dock facts aside, I still think that Irish race could easily start winning the Triumph Hurdle yet again.
Yeah.
And I particularly like Galileo Dame at a decent each way price.
Yeah.
So that'd be my. I'm sticking with the stats.
Yeah, no, fair. And again, Lossiemouth, Galamarceau, Zenta, 1, 2, 3 for fillies coming out of Ireland a couple of years ago as well. So yeah, it is. It's a fascinating. I think the main thing, it's just everyone just looks at it and goes, "Why the hell is Lalamba 6-4?"
Yes.
That's the main thing. And but part of me, if he does win by 10 lengths, I go, fair enough. We've got
you're not going to be surprised, are you?
Yeah.
Because it's the Henderson yard. They all got on it straight away.
Yeah.
And they know that it's good. But I do still think that East India Dock is being a little bit underestimated because of that slickness of his jumping. You get loads of flat horses that go and they get over him.
Yeah.
Whereas he just natural.
But actually, weirdly, my biggest worry is actually that he's too good over his hurdles. Sometimes it scares you a bit.
It scares you, Well, it's the same. With fences or hurdles, right? The horses that have the worst falls tend to be the ones that jump the best.
Yeah,
when they do get them wrong, they've got no idea what they're doing.
No
and they're
margin.
Too quick, and there's no margin.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Actually, I think you're right, you guys. I think the point is that we know all the other ones we're talking about do something wrong, don't they? East India Dock has been faultless in his 3 starts. He's done everything right. And that's why he's probably a very good bet at 5-2, because you know what you're going to get. The others have got to do everything right to get to him, and whether they will, they haven't done it yet.
Yeah. Well, he's John Bond. It's like John Bond in the Champion Chase, isn't it? John Bond's the one that's done everything right, but something might beat him on the day, but he's odds on. So
yeah.
Anyway, we'll.
As an outsider, Galileo Dane was half interesting, just because of the way she ran on at the DRF. She's very good.
Simon's made a very good case for her.
Yeah, I'm hoping that she runs in the mares.
Wake up, Deals.
Sorry, mate.
So I just checking.
She's got to race in the Triumph, though, hasn't she? Because just even off the back of she's got to run.
They get £10 in the mares, though, don't they?
Yeah.
There's only about 7 4-year-olds have run in that mares novice, and they were all rank outsiders.
It's worth a crack.
It's for a good one to go for.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Joseph, if you're watching. Never know. Stayers Hurdle then. Tiapu even money. Lucky Place 7-1. Home by the Lee 7-1. The War Park 12-1. Rocky's Diamond 16-1. Galro 16-1. Jutara 20-1. Stella Story 20-1. And bigger prices the rest then. And the Stayers Hurdle. Oh, what a race. What a bizarre bunch of horses we get year in, year out. And we've got Tiapu, Home by the Lee, and Lucky Place, first 3 in the betting. And between them this winter, they have raced 5 times. Which is very odd, isn't it, going into a championship race?
I hope they all lose.
Yeah, I mean, we all hope they all lose, but we'll get to that in just a second. The War Park's been well back 12-1. We've got a youngster in Rocky's Diamond at 16-1. Head and Wallet says a very different horse, but Heart is screaming Gowell Road for sure. And it is 20-1 bar those. Did you know, Tom Segal, Gowell Road, only one horse this century has run at every Cheltenham festival, every Cheltenham meeting during the National Hunt season and then turned up at the festival. Gowell Road will be the second. The first was Cool Cody and winning the plate a few years ago.
Oh, was it?
And he won.
Oh, new trainer.
And he won.
So there you go. Gowell Road. I kind of want him to win because to turn up at every Cheltenham meeting, finish second, win the best trial and then win the Stayers would be incredible. However, from a financial perspective, I think we're all in agreement that that we want the War Park. Is that fair?
Yeah, because he's run, isn't he? Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, I'm financially no. Like,
No?
You know what I mean, no, financially I'm not on it. No.
Oh, right, just me
I
and
think
you.
I've actually backed one of the ones that hasn't run that much. But irrespective of that, I'd like to see a horse that was properly campaigned. Yeah.
Yeah. What talk us? So the first thing in the bet is when you said I hope they all lose. Is that partly because?
That was because they haven't been running. Yeah, that's the only reason I hope they all lose. Yeah, I hate it. Like, it's rubbish, isn't it? I mean, Tiapu's run once this season, run to an RPR of 149.
Yeah.
And made look like a snail by a lossy mouth in a slowly run race, and that's all we see of him. Like, you know what I mean? That's just crap, isn't it? It's just rubbish for racing. So yeah, I hope he gets beat. If it's soft ground, I don't think he will. If it's quicker ground, then I think there might be an issue. I mean, let's face it, all the stars were aligned for him last year.
Yeah.
He had an absolute garbage stayers, and he had his ground.
Yeah.
When you look at the runners, I mean, I know Floyd Porter's won it twice, but he was 9. Home by Lee was 9. Side of Belay was 12. Asterion Forlodge was 10.
Yeah.
Noble Yates was 9. Dashel Drasher was 11. Paisley Park was 12. Janador was 10. Cigar Hard 9. It was just a bunch of ropey, old, past their best horses, wasn't it?
It was a
Terrible
reunion
race.
tour, wasn't it?
So, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Mick Jagger was out there, wasn't it? Like, you know what I mean? So, you know, at least we've got Lucky Places 6, Woolpark 7, Rocky's Diamond 5.
Yeah.
At least we've got young up and comers coming in. The only thing is they've got an absolute mountain to climb on what they've done so far.
Very true.
And that's the issue, which is why the 10-year-old Home by the Lee is second favourite. I back Lucky Place for the simple reason that he has improved his RPR every single time he's hit the race course, and he looked like he might stay. And I'm not sure about it. And if it's bottomless ground, I wouldn't be rushing in. But I think
it's not guaranteed. I mean, we've Solway and Nichols Canyon had to prove their stamina.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you don't have to. You don't have to. So, and I'm thinking, it runs to me like he probably will. And he was giving a bit of weight to Gal Road when he beat him, wasn't he? I know it probably wasn't Gal Road's best distance, but he's a horse going forward. So's the Woolpark, but he could run in the Potemps under a big weight, couldn't he? So
don't do it, please.
You know that's a possibility.
It is a possibility.
It's a bit of a less possibility since that horse ran at Exeter, isn't it?
Of course, that's that. You know what? I was watching that earlier on. I was watching the replay back, and I was thinking there was something in the back of my mind that made me happier that I should have been watching that replay. Jericho de Repede. I was watching it back, thinking, "Crikey, O'Reilly. Okay, this is something. The plan for this one." Of course. Thank you, Tom. That's cheered me up.
There we go.
That's my worry.
I'm here to please Ross.
What about the what about the rescues? Is there something? Could I mean, it wouldn't be bad to see Gowl Road win it, would it?
I think it would, because I think he got his level. I think he's run really consistently all year, but he hasn't done anything different. He's just run his race, and that race, I mean, it's just it's not good enough, is it? It's as simple as that. I think that's it. I'd love to see him run well. Gold Sweet went off at a fairly short price last year or the season before, didn't he? He's done vast majority of his racing over fences lately. He didn't run that badly behind Royal Pagai for a long way, and he was running really well in a Grade 3 chase in January until he unseated 4 out when the rider lost his irons. I watched it, and he was going quite well there. He's a strange one. Might go well at a price. I don't really know. Langadan.
Well, I mean,
the sun comes out and he suddenly becomes a better horse. He can't run in a handicap because the handicapper hasn't been having any of it this year.
And to be fair, seasonal affective disorder is, it really does.
Well, I'm a miserable git 12 months of the year myself. So.
It doesn't affect me.
Yeah. You've got to leave the house, Tom, for it to affect you, I think. But
but no, they're rubbish, aren't they?
A quick one that just because Buddy won, who came into last year's Cheltenham Festival off the back of being beaten 27 lengths at Fairyhouse and pulling up at Leopardstown and then finished 4th. He's clearly a horse who runs the track well over hurdles. He might run okay, but that's.
Yeah, he might run okay, and he might have needed a first run back over hurdles, and he probably doesn't want the ground that bad anyway, did he? And he actually ran well last year, despite the ground being against him, didn't he? So yeah, you wouldn't rule him out bouncing back. He's still young enough to, at least.
Okay. Yeah, but like I said, I'm hoping the Woolpark goes for this, mainly because, again, young horses, Tom, he won that handicap hurdle off 145 and went up to 152. He hadn't run in a graded race after that. It's not much of a hop, skip and a jump to this level. I mean, he battered Gowl Road on that occasion. He's really strong at the finish. He's a proper course horse. He's trained by Gordon Elliott, who's, this is his race of the festival now, isn't it? Cider Burley, Tiapu, he's on for is it a hat-trick? He's clearly very good with these horses. Went to Ascot last time out, and I thought, if I didn't fancy him already, it was a pitch-perfect prep off a slowly run race, staying on at the death. Obviously, the price has come down to a more reasonable level now, for sure, but he's definitely got more to come.
Oh, God, yeah, definitely. 100%. I think the race sets up perfectly for him on that new course. I think he'll just be finishing, won't he? And that's what you need often in these races. I can just imagine the phone call, can't you? JP on the phone to Gordon Elliott, sort of saying, "What, you got one for me for the stairs?" Yeah, well, he's not going to throw him a duff one, is he? He's not going to pay loads for a per temps horse, put it like that. And so I think they think Wool Park's a bit better than a handicapper. I think he's got a great chance myself. Obviously, Tihupu's class. I think Home by the Lee is better this year than he was last. I know, funnily enough, Joseph O'Brien is more sweet on Home by the Lee this year than he has been ever before. Now, what he's seeing at home, I don't know, but I thought the first time he ran, he should have been right in the premises. He went from second to last with a terrible mistake right in front of the stands and still flew home. If he would, I wouldn't. We've seen Cider Burley win it at 12. So I'm not totally ruling out Home by the Lee running a better race this time round. I think his form it's been consistent, hasn't it? And he's looked a bit more straightforward. Blinkers on, blinkers off. Just something's changed with him, maybe. So I could see him going well. I personally think the Wool Park's there's a great each way bet, because I think he'll be finishing. I can't see him not running. I would be really disappointed if he didn't run. The rest I don't fancy. I think Rocky's Diamond's got to step up a lot on what he did at Garin. Gowl Road surely isn't good enough. Jatara, Seller Story's a chaser now. I can't see him coming back. Lucky Place I get. He was one of the few Henderson horses that ran well at the festival last year, wasn't he? He didn't have many runners, but all the other ones pulled up, and he ran well to be fourth in the Coral Cup. I could see him running well too. I just think he shouldn't be 5 points shorter than the Wool Park on form. He just shouldn't be. And so that's why I would prefer him at the prices. And I think Tiupo's there to be beaten. I really do. I just don't think he's that good.
Yeah.
And so therefore, one of these. I mean, I personally, I think it's between Home by the Lee and the Wool Park. But yeah.
Yeah, and this is the thing. But you always, you say, Tom, you're going on potential. Home by the Lee's been beaten in the last two stayers, and the Wool Park's 7 years old and only running one Grade 1. But yeah, I do think he's got to. The worst thing that could happen, personally, and obviously that's what my wallet is talking here, Simon. But the worst thing that could possibly happen is the Wool Park run his absolute face off and finish second to Tiapu and then win it next year at a much shorter price, but which it might well do. But if Tiapu if again, at least, Simon, of all the races we've been previewing, we pretty much know most of those horses will run, which is great.
Yeah, bar the one you backed, which you don't know. But no,
yeah. Oh God, yeah. Oh yeah, fair enough. Oh yeah.
But look, I think you're right. I mean, you suspect he should run. I mean, I think you've just even by looking through the race. I mean, the race has thrown up a lot of shocks over the years. Listen to Oscar at 50-1, Cider Burley won at 33s, Cole Harden 14s, Florian Porter's 12-1 when he first won it. And there have been three favourites in the last 10 years. So, looking at Tiapu, you think, can we get this horse beat? He's even money, very short, but it is hard, isn't it, to find. And, 7-1 Home by Lee, 7-1 Lucky Place, they've got obvious chances. But Lucky Place still, it's a leap of faith. I think, is he really going to step up so much he's going to win a Stairs Hurdle? Although Nicky Henderson today, the media around at his stables, and he's talking very bullishly about, the fact he does believe Lucky Place has a real chance. And then you're into the Gowl Roads, which I suppose would be the sort of horse who could pop up and be one of those outsiders that's won in the past because he's in form. He's won the Cleve. Rocky's Diamond's very young, 5 years old. I really searched for just at least one sort of 25-1, 33-1 to pin my hopes on. Langerdan I looked at, but surely not,
Why not, Si? Why not?
Is it, I suppose, the best form he showed at the back end of last season, was that good enough to win a Stairs, or was he still just shy? Because that was almost
three runs at the Cheltenham Festival, two wins and a second to Galopin Des Champs.
Yes.
Oh, and no, didn't he run in the? Did he run in the Triumph? Did he run in the?
No, he ran the Martin Pipe. You're right. He ran the Martin Pipe. It was really fancy.
He ran in the Fred Winter as well.
He ran in the Fred Winter. He did run in another one, didn't he?
And it's worth remembering that this is the Stayers Hurdle. And quite frankly, I mean, Cole Harden, Penn Hill, Nichols Canyon.
Yes,
I mean,
stuff's happened. You've got to find, but you've got on the right one. Like Gold, I mean, that's why you could back Gale Road, because if it is a boil over and Teahupoo doesn't run well, home by the lead is pretty exposed, albeit he's in great form. Lucky Place might not be that good. Walport might not run. So suddenly you're in the realms of but you could easily be on the wrong outside. So I mean, I looked at Jatara because she looks quite tough. She gets a weight allowance. But
it's hard to talk you out of any of them, really, to a certain extent, isn't it? And then
straws, really,
unless Teahupoo turns up and knots up again anyway.
Well, the Inno special, we got 5-1 Teahupoo to win by over 5 lengths. So £20 max bet, 5-1. If you think Teahupoo is going to turn up and win by over 5 lengths, which isn't easy to do in the Stairs Hurdle, it's got to be said. But he does look head and shoulders better than them, particularly if it comes up soft.
Okay, thank you very much. Right, very quickly then, we're going to wrap through the Albert Bartlett, which, to be fair, isn't that hard, because it's the kind of race that right now we can't get too stuck into it, because this race is always a bit of a nightmare. As Tom put in his preview last week, logic flips on its head when it comes to the Albert Bartlett. The Yellow Clay 7-2, the Big Western 6-1, Final Demand 6-1, Jasmine DeVoe 10-1, JetBlue 12 with Wendigo, Wingmen 16 at Ballybow is 16-1. Gordon Elliott yet to win this race, in contrast, which is weird, isn't it? You can train Stay Hurdle winners, but you can't train Albert Bartlett winners, which is very odd. But he's 7-2.
Won it last year, didn't he?
Apart from last year.
Tell a story.
Oh, sorry, you're right. I was thinking he hadn't won it until last year. I'm thinking of the Brown Advisory, which he still hasn't won.
Yes.
I take it all back. Thank you, boys. Thank God you
Leapt in.
here.
Saved you from a.
I saw Tom's critical face because I was doubting myself. I'm thinking.
Sorry, it's 2000. Sorry, I thought it was 2024. I forgot to tell you guys, I'm a time traveller and I brought the wrong notes. So never mind. Anyway, I'll tell you what, Keels. Let's have one horse, or two if you like. But what's one horse for the Albert Bartlett?
If the ground is soft and it becomes a real test, I think Sounds Victorious is a right slow old boat. Will charge up the hill at a massive price.
Okay.
Of Willie Mullins. That was the one I came down to when I was doing the previews. I just wanted to look something that's run quite a few times and has got ability and might be tough and ready for it, because I think that's what you need sometimes. The other one I was half interested up the front was JetBlue, just because he ran in a straight line and he's got loads of runs to his name. 10 bumpers he ran in France, believe it or not, ridiculously. But
you love the bumpers.
He ran in an hour straight line when he won at Cheltenham earlier in the season, and I just thought, he might just have a little bit more nous than some of them, because these all big lummoxes, aren't they, Tom? They're going to be running all over the place after the last.
But this is the crowning of the lummox often, isn't it? So, what you had two on your list in your anti-post preview last week.
Yes, I'm very worried that the Yellow K will end up running here. I think he will, and therefore he could be a class angle. He could be a monkfish amongst lummoxes, because I think he would have the standout form by a country mile, and I think he would stay the trip being by Yates. So I could see him. Obviously, Final Demand's not going to win. Jasmine DeVoe can't jump. Sounds Victorious, I get, but if you like her, why not? Well, I like him. Why not like Fishery Lane, who finished just behind him in the bumper last year and jumps better. So I liked Wendigo, was one of mine, just simply because I'm hoping he's the jukebox man in disguise. When he ran in a point to point, he split Jalon du Dairy and 6 Mile Bridge in the market, so they obviously knew he was good to begin with, and he was on Jalon du Dairy's heels when he unseated the rider after the last, so he's got proper good form. He was second in the Challow, staying on. I could see him. Jamie Stone is one of my favourite target trainers as well. He's absolutely brilliant when he's got one aimed at a race. He's won 2 Cheltenham Festival races. He's won a Coral Gold Trophy. He's won a Paddy Power. He's won all those. When he targets one, he's very good. I see him running a big race. And the other one was just sort of a throwaway at a huge price, Ballybow, really, because I'd seen him win. He had excuses for his first 2 defeats. He's a point-to-point winner. He had excuses for his first couple of losses over hurdles. He then went and was impressive, beating a couple of Mullins horses and a Stuart Crawford horse that had run very well in sort of better company than last time. And then he went to the Grade 3 at Clonmel during the week, and he scraped home, but that was a ridiculous race. He just looks like the type of horse, the type of Stella Story type horse that might keep on running, and be running at the finish, which is basically all you need.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, interesting. Wendigo as well. Interesting. The horse that Wendigo beat in his point-to-point came out and bolted up at the weekend as well for Lucinda Russell, which it's just those little bits that give you a little bit of extra positivity. The other thing I would say about Jasmine DeVoe, Tom, is again jumping particularly well in soft ground over 2.5 miles behind experienced horses, and then jumping what is often a bit of a modest pace over 3 miles. I did think, point-to-point winner, won the bumper last year, just looks a proper stayer. I did think that this would bring out the best in him.
100% agree. He was definitely on my shortlist when I did the race. I watched the DRF again, and he stayed perfectly well. He was running at the line. He could easily, he's, as you say, he won the bumper. So he could easily be the one. He could be the one. There's hundreds. It's just one of those races, isn't it, where you throw a dart and hope you land on one.
Yeah. 4 winners have been beaten in that Final Demand race and then come out and won this. I think Weapons Amnesty and obviously Stella Story a couple of years ago. Vanillier was battered out of sight in that before winning this as well. So it's not a bad prep. Simon Clare, wrap it up for us, will you?
Well, the In the Know special is Jasmine DeVoe. He's a 10-1 chance to win the race and 9-4 to place, but we're going 3-1 to finish in the first 3 for the rest of the show, through till 7:30, so another 25 minutes. That's £25 max bet. If you think Jasmine DeVoe, last year's bumper winner, is going to finish in the 3, you get favourable odds there. I love this race because you look through the Roll of Honour and it throws up big winners every year, which means it's really worth having a go. Do you know what I mean? The stats say there's every chance if you find something at a big price, it could genuinely pop up and win. We spoke to the Cheltenham Hurdle last year. I thought the form looked strong. I did back the Jukebox Man for the Albert Bartlett and was screaming, thinking I was very, very clever, right to the line. And he turned out to be a good horse. The Cheltenham Hurdle, I think, has improved as a race because they got rid of a decent race at Cheltenham, which used to pull some of the races on, some of the good horse away on New Year's Day. So I just think it's a deeper race. And Wendigo running on, I looked at that and thought, right, he could be the Albert Bartlett horse this year. Form looks really strong. He came out and won, but Battleborn Lad, who his form tied in with, I think beat him a length early in the season, came out and won well at the weekend as well. And so I think he's interesting. Ballybow, Tom mentions, unbeaten, looks a real slogger. You want a horse who's an out-and-out stayer. And the other one I thought was interesting with John McConnell's horses. Had a couple of horses run really well at big prices in this race. And that intense approach was winning at the back end of, sort of into the autumn, had a break, came out and won at Musselburgh, which is the same race that Bardenstown Lad won a couple of years, who came third at a huge price in 2022. And this intense approach did cost over £200,000 at the Cheltenham sales. So he's obviously bought to be a good horse. So I thought him at 33-1 from a shrewd yard might be doing. So Wendigo, intense approach, and Ballybow are my 3 for the shortlist in a race I love to have a crack at. Okay, lovely stuff. Right, thanks, gents. Really enjoyed tonight. Yeah, good fun. Well, we could have again, but it's one of those races we could talk about it for 5 hours and still get done by a 33-1 shot on the line. Not to rub it in, but that's for Simon. But that's exactly the feeling. If only you really were a time traveller, Ross, you'd know if the Woolpark's going to run in the stairs.
And you could tell us what's going to win as well.
Look, I am a time traveller, but my memory's shocking. I can't remember. Oh yeah, that one, didn't it? Of course. So, anyway. Right, best selections from tonight after this.
Final bend of the Coral Fan Derby, where racing lovers of the UK are in a spectacular contest. And what's this? He's shaking his phone like it's a pocket-sized maraca. They're all getting rewards now. He's shaking it, she's shaking it, they're all shaking it. Play the free Coral Reward Shaker to win guaranteed daily rewards and offers. Coral, we're here for it.
Okay, right. Poor Kealy, of everything we talked about tonight, what would you have a quid on?
I should have a little bit more than that, I should imagine, but East India Doctor should be fab for the Triumph, shouldn't it?
Very well. It's hard to disagree with that. But Tom Segal?
Keels will know this, but when you do these anti-post previews sort of thing, often you come a few weeks later on and think, oh, that was a bad mistake. What did I tip that one for? And back that one. But I actually think Wendigo and the Woolpark, I'm sort of a little bit, I'm just as happy now as I was when I did them, sort of thing. And I think those two will run really well.
Okay, Wendigo in the War Park, which sounds like a children's novel. Sounds lovely. So, but an each way double. Same thing. I mean, well, let's all agree, because I think the East India Dock Wall Park each way double would be the angle for me, and I'm hoping that that those slips pay off. Simon, Clare.
I think Wendigo as well for the Outback. I love that race, and we know we didn't cover it, but the Changing Man backed the non-run bet for both the Ultimate and the Novice, the National Hunt Chase.
Okay, thank you very much. And I don't think we've got any final demand is Robert Ballard's banker, but I do believe he might be going for the Turners, which we will talk about in time. Lovely stuff. Thanks for joining us. Like, subscribe, put comments below as well. The stream, the last two have been very lively indeed, and I do like to sit on the train at home, getting stuck in. So put the comments below. In a positive way, obviously, and we'll see you on Friday for loads of grade twos and some cracking handicaps.
Some good stuff at Kempton.
Yeah, thank you everyone. See you next time.